Hello, and welcome to our first Tape Solutions coffee chat. In today's chat, we're going to explore how Tape Solutions fits into the hydrogen market. And today we're partnering with our European and North American subject matter experts to talk about what the hydrogen market looks like today, where Saint-Gobain fits in, how Tape Solutions products specifically can play a role, and we're also discussing and forecasting the future of hydrogen as a clean alternative energy source. So with no further ado, let's welcome Eliot Hield Ryder and Maggie Ezell from the Tape Solutions team.
Hi everybody, I'm Eliot Hield Ryder. I'm the Business Development Manager for Tape Solutions within the solar and hydrogen business for Europe. I've been with Saint-Gobain for nearly 8 years now across a number of different remits, but this is particularly close to my heart because I am interested in sustainability, and it's a very important topic that I think we need to address, and I think Saint-Gobain as a very large organization is addressing very well. So we're going to spend a few minutes speaking with my colleague Maggie about the hydrogen sector and how our Tape Solutions business is evolving into that. Hi Maggie, how are you?
Hi Eliot, good morning. I'm Maggie Ezell. I've been with Saint-Gobain for 15 years now. I'm the Business Development Manager for Tape Solutions for North America. Similar to Eliot, I have a focus in new energy markets, right now working in hydrogen, solar, and stationary battery storage. So very similar thoughts. New energy is very important to us, and it's important Saint-Gobain is a part of that conversation. And I think we have so many great products that could play a role in this market here. So I'm excited to share them with everyone and talk more about it with Eliot this morning.
I'll kick us off then, Maggie. Could you perhaps just give us an overview of the hydrogen market as you see it at the moment, and the importance of it going forward?
Yeah, so at the moment, I think what we're seeing is there's been a lot of traction for the last few years. Post-COVID, hydrogen had a pretty big boom. The market right now is facing some headwinds with changes in some policies, things like that, as well as some cost challenges. But I think we see our customers focusing on efficiencies and cost reduction and trying to bring the best product to market that they can. And in North America, we're seeing more and more push for this, and we're seeing more and more activity in the market here. Quite a few people from electrolyzers to fuel cell manufacturers, and people that are looking to use them in some very creative ways, such as for stationary generation. We saw some people with mobile hydrogen generators at the recent hydrogen technology conference in Texas. So there's lots of interesting things happening here in the US. What about in Europe?
Similar, I would say that what we've found is that the hydrogen growth rate is coming. There's a lot of Europe is very good at wanting to create a low carbon society moving forward. I think we're probably one of the leaders across the world, and because of that we are going to see a huge growth in hydrogen because of its low carbon capabilities. And also we're seeing a slight shift in the fact that electric cars were such, they were the number one dominant project, if you like, across the region in terms of that's what everybody wanted to do. We wanted electric cars. But there's been a bit of a slowdown in that, and that slowdown has opened the door to hydrogen creators, manufacturers, users of that material. So we have the two sides of hydrogen. We have the hydrogen manufacturers, if you like, trying to get green hydrogen, which is completely clean. And then on the other side of that, we have the people using that hydrogen within fuel cells and how we can utilize that as well.
Thank you, Eliot and Maggie. Can either of you explain more how Saint-Gobain Material Solutions fit into the hydrogen value chain?
So I think for Saint-Gobain as a whole, there's a lot of places where the hydrogen market is going to be valuable for us. We see a lot of value in the products we provide. For tape solutions specifically, we know that it's important for the fuel cells and electrolyzer manufacturers to have very good gasketing materials and very well sealed in containment. So that's where our materials come into play there. We can provide a lot of value in materials that are, we can customize them, we can design them differently. Then if you get into the manufacturing of the MEAs, you have the decal release process where you have to take the catalyst coatings and get them onto the membranes that our customers are using. And we provide great materials for those.
If I was to jump in there, Maggie, I think the way I see it is the fact that we have the processing and the using, and the processing side is the manufacture of the MEAs, and we have materials which are very low friction, which allow these MEAs to be made because they use a lot of expensive materials within them. So even if you have one single failure within there, it costs a lot of money. And on the other side of that, people are utilizing the MEAs, and around it we can put our gasketing solutions. We can also develop materials, which is really important. We have such a good group of research and development within Saint-Gobain. And so we don't actually know all our solutions at this moment in time. I think that's one of the beauties. We have a range of fluoropolymers, we have tapes, we have gasketing. We also have other business units outside of tape solutions. We have a sealing business, we have consumer sciences, we have, consumer industrial and consumables, we have life sciences. All of these are getting involved in that value chain somewhere along the line. So if we can't do it ourselves within tape solutions, we might, depending on the specification, be able to find somebody else within the business who can.
And I think that's an important point to make, is that we see how working together across our business units and partnering with them when we're meeting with customers helps us to open those doors and find those new places that we hadn't thought of before. So for example, one of the things we've recently found is that in the MEA manufacturing process, our customers are using some compression press pad material, which we manufacture. That's a big portion of our business here in Tape Solutions, and we can provide that to the market. So I think for us, the value we see in it as well is that when we partner together across business and we visit with our customers and we can see their processes, we're able to better work with those customers to find those opportunities for our products and find places where we can customize something for them as well. So I think you're right. We're seeing lots of places across that value chain, from the consumption to the actual use of our materials in those products. And the more we continue working with customers who are looking to make their product more efficient or to reduce their costs or do any of those kind of things, we're going to continue finding those products that we can put into that value chain.
Maggie, you had mentioned compression pad materials. Could you share more detail about the compression pad materials and why customization of materials can be a game changer for customer success in the hydrogen market?
Sure. So I think what happens a lot of time in the market is people are comfortable using materials that they have used for a period of time, or it's harder to know how to look for materials that you might want to have customized or where to find them. One of the things that's great about our business is we can customize those products. So for example, we can work on those press pad materials. You want them to be long lasting. You want to be able to reuse them multiple times. You might want a different amount of deflection in the material, things like that. Those are all places where Tape Solutions can work with those customers and help you to design a product that is best optimized for your process. I think one of the things with these in the market is everyone has there's a lot of designing, a lot of new iterations of materials coming along, and we can work with you as you work through those processes. I think for the hydrogen market, to get to that place where things are meeting their cost points and they're efficient, having materials that are designed to meet your process specifically, designed to meet your hydrogen fuel cell or your electrolyzer specifically in there, is going to be really important for that market. If you just try to buy materials that are just off the shelf or things that you don't necessarily have a lot of design focus for the hydrogen market, it's going to delay and slow down that development process within the hydrogen pipeline. I think it's better for them if we can customize something for them. It's going to work for them long term.
So, without a doubt, the hydrogen industry is complex. How can foam, film, and tape solutions work together to ensure both performance and longevity in hydrogen applications?
If we start on the processing side, what I would say is that we have a range of fluoropolymer materials which are, by their very nature, very low surface energy. And that's low surface energy means that they're low friction, and it means they are easy release. And when you are processing these expensive membrane electrode assemblies, they need to, in the decal process, you need to be able to release them fully, completely. Our materials, because of that inherent nature, allow the membrane electrode assemblies, or if we go back, they're actually called a CCM, a catalyst coated membrane at that point. So it's a catalyst coated membrane, it releases, and then you have that. And that is made up of very expensive metals I mentioned earlier. But the beauty of that is then we then move on to some of the materials we have in the gasketing side, so in the fuel cells. And what we're looking for here is PTFE, say, and we'll use that as a gasket. But one of the advantages Saint-Gobain brings is we keep extremely tight tolerancing. And when you look at a fuel cell, you'll see it is made up of layers and layers and layers and layers and layers and layers and layers of these membranes. So if you have very loose tolerancing on that, you are going to end up with something that could be this big or could be this small. And you have to really, really define that. And that's something that we control very, very well. It's also important in that processing that you can do it robotically. So these gaskets will be picked up and then they will be put into the fuel cell. And if you can do that, we are going to be able to keep or increase the manufacturing speeds. And that's again part of, the more you can make, the quicker you can make it, the more economies of scale you get. And also you're maintaining that level of standard that you wanted at the beginning. So we can create these products, but we create the repeatability, which allows for the speed of processing, which allows for a more competitively priced product at the end of it.
Eliot, we had already mentioned that the hydrogen industry is quite complex. In light of that, can you elaborate on some of the different types of hydrogen?
Sure. So if I'm talk about the colours of hydrogen and how we get to those colours, there's lots. There's about 8 different colours, going from white to brown to grey to turquoise to green. Lots, but I'll just mention a couple so that you have an understanding of where they come from, where the hydrogen comes from, and the processes used, and why we're focusing in a certain area. So a brown-black hydrogen is when it's extracted from coal using gasification. Okay, nobody wants to use coal. Grey hydrogen is done through steam reforming. That is the most common one in the world today. Okay, so it's out there, it's used a lot, but it's not perfect. We also have, say, a purple or pink one. So there's lots. I could take you through all 8, but I won't. So purple or pink hydrogen is produced by electrolysis using nuclear power. Some people will state nuclear is very clean. Some people will state it's not. So there's a bit of a division in there. But what we are focused on, and it's the only area we're focused on, is hydrogen produced by electrolysis of water, and that is done by using electricity from renewable sources like wind and solar. So this has zero CO2 emissions. Okay, we use renewable electricity, we use electrolysis of water, we get hydrogen, and that is green hydrogen. At the moment, it's one of the most expensive methods of getting hydrogen, but the point is, with all these methods and the way that lots of companies are investing in this process, is that it will become the most common one in the future.
One of the things that we see in North America for sure is the big push towards green hydrogen. Absolutely, everybody wants to try to do it through electrolysis. There's also quite a bit of activity around trying to just get people using hydrogen that we can get today, whether it's from natural gas, steam reformation processing, whatever it is, to try to get that process, try to get that market moving and using that hydrogen. So there's a bit of a dual pathway I see in North America happening. Use the hydrogen that we can get today for processes that are cheap but not the best. So we start seeing people buying fuel cells for backup power or for mobility, things like that. And that's going to help to drive some of the cost reduction in the overall market and in adoption, which is what we really need to see happening at the end of the day, is we need that end user adoption to be coming. And that can then fuel that green hydrogen development. So there's a lot of things happening in that area. Saint-Gobain is focused towards the green hydrogen, trying to help us to play a part in that process specifically. But I think we see a lot of things happening in the market overall that's just trying to drive the adoption of hydrogen at the end for the end users as well.
We want to ask, where do you see the hydrogen market going in the next 5, 10, or even 15 years?
I'll try and answer this question because it's a particularly tough question about the future of hydrogen. I think what we can say is that hydrogen is here to stay. It's a clean source of energy, and therefore it's going to be part of our energy mix going forward. We have adopted solar, we've adopted wind, and we will adopt hydrogen. So it's in that kind of so wind, solar's up here in terms of energy, wind is also up here, but hydrogen is way back here. It's probably 10 years behind. But in 10 years' time, it will be the same, and it will form a part of that energy mix. And that's what's important, I think, about hydrogen, is and in that process, it will get used in lots and lots and lots of different places. However, the main thing is it's going to become a part of our energy mix. And that's very important for society, it's very important for our world, and it's very important for our futures and our children's future, let's be honest. So the more we can do now to support that business, the quicker we can make changes within the world. I know that sounds ridiculously huge statement, but that's what we're aiming for.
Yeah, and I think as well, in North America right now, we see, like I said, the market's seeing some headwinds that are happening. I don't think that they're permanent. I don't think they're going to stop it long term. Hydrogen will be in that mix of energies that we need for long-term green energy, renewable energy sources. I agree with Eliot. It's hard to know, to be able to say where we think it's going to be in the next 2 to 5 to 10 years, other than we do believe it's going to be there. We see a lot of great companies that have had some pretty significant progress in the industry and have put out some pretty great products coming out there. And I think that the other thing that's nice about it is I see some very creative ways people are looking to use hydrogen as energy sources. I think the ability for them to be mobile is really interesting versus rather just a stationary item. Being able to put power, being able to put energy where you need it isn't always necessarily a fixed, it's not necessarily that it's fixed somewhere. I think that ability to have it be transportable is going to be very, very important for the market going forward in the future, whether that means that it's because you're having to go to emergency sites or you're having, power outages that are rolling and happening somewhere. If you can have clean energy like this that's transportable and you can take it to somebody who needs it, that's a really interesting place I see this market going. That isn't necessarily the case right now with all the types of energy sources that we currently have. So I think those are one of the really interesting places I see the industry going.
Yeah, I think as well, there's a lot of infrastructure got to come around this. So
yes,
you have,
for sure.
If I use the reference of the electric car, certainly in the UK where I live, there's a good infrastructure in terms of recharging, and lots of people have chargers at home now, and lots of people drive electric cars. However, if we're going to do that with hydrogen, or we're going to do something similar where we need the source of hydrogen, it's going to be, again, a lot of investment, a lot of governments putting their hands in their pocket to support this. And also, that infrastructure costs a lot of money and takes a lot of time. So we might be able to create great products on one side, but you have to have the infrastructure to support it on the other. And that's what the whole hydrogen shift will be. Plus, the actual growth figures I've seen of hydrogen are just phenomenal. So if we came anywhere near to that kind of growth, who knows where we could be.
I think that's a really great point. The infrastructure part is really important. You highlighted, the electric car. When we saw electric cars coming out and becoming a thing that people are trying to push for, the infrastructure didn't exist for that, and nobody could imagine what it would be like having, chargers along the road and things like that. Nowadays, it's very common, and we see it happening. For hydrogen in North America specifically, one of the things that we see them talking about around infrastructure is for mobility specifically, is how you go from the East Coast to the West Coast, and where you have those hydrogen filling stations along the way, especially for heavy duty trucking. I think you're going to see a lot more of that happening. We see a lot more people designing refueling stations and looking for places to put them in strategically. But the infrastructure has to be there in order for that end user adoption to really come forward, like we know it's going to drive that hydrogen market there. So I think you're right. You're going to see a lot of activity around infrastructure over the next few years to push that end user adoption.
Thank you, Maggie and Eliot, for taking off on a lot of interesting trends and topics in the hydrogen market. And to everyone that took the time to watch, thank you for watching. Stay tuned for part 2 of our hydrogen-focused coffee chat, where we'll take a deeper dive into collaboration across Saint-Gobain business units and collaboration with different customers.